In this episode, I talk with Yash and Brenden from Academy of Mind about their learning management system and about the e-learning industry.
Welcome to the Online Course Coach Podcast, brought to you by TrueFocusMedia.com. Whether you're a beginner or expert, this is the podcast for the latest in online course creation tips, news, interviews, and ideas. And here's your coach, Jeff Long.
Welcome back to another episode of the Online Course Coach Podcast. This is the podcast where I interview authentic experts about their successes and how we can apply those principles to our own courses, our own marketing, and our own teaching and training. My background includes corporate training with Fortune 500 companies, creating custom learning management systems with online influencers, producing engaging course videos, marketing courses, and everything in between. And I come from a family of educators. My parents are both lifelong teachers. Now they're working into college, but I love to teach just like so many of my family members. And so my goal for this podcast, for my coaching, for the website is really to take my extensive experience and help more people create courses so you can impact more people. So thanks for listening to this show. And if you're brand new, go back. You can listen to all the other shows at onlinecoursecoach.com. Before we jump into the interview with Yash and Brenden, I want to let you know about some training content that I want to create for you, but I really only want to create it if you truly need it, right? I don't want to spend all this time and then you're like, you know what, Jeff, that's not really what I need. So I've narrowed the list down to a few ideas that I have, but I really want your vote on what to start with. So some of the trainings include how to build your audience, how to market your course, how to use things like Facebook ads, how to grow your email list. There's a lot of different types of training in there that I could create. And so based on where you are in the process, either now or where you're going, I really want your feedback on what would be important to you. So you can go to onlinecoursecoach.com/vote to vote for your favorite. And I even have a free bonus guide as a thank you for your help. So I would appreciate any insights you have. Leave me any notes or go to the contact page on the website. If there's something that you don't see on that survey, and I would love to entertain that possibility as well. The survey will take, a minute, 2 minutes, whatever. It's super short. So again, go to onlinecoursecoach.com/vote to vote for your favorite trainings to have me work on. And hey, who knows? I might even pick your brain to see what you want to learn specifically in that course that gets voted the most. All right, well, hey, let's jump into the interview with Academy of Mind and Yash and Brenden. And I wanted to have them on because I think it's important to get different perspectives from different learning management system platforms. It's easy just to look at some of the big names or the small names or the ones that are just WordPress or ones that are, build your own or whatever it is. I really want to get a good variety. And so when they reached out to me, I wanted to, get them on the show. And so Academy of Mind is an all-in-one learning management system platform that lets you create, market, and sell your online courses. And the heart of their software is their proprietary learning management system, which allows you to create online courses that consist of lessons, quizzes, assignments, and discussions, include certificates of completion, among many other features. So they allow you to create your own branded website and offer automated e-commerce functionality, as well as marketing and analytics software. And that's key because they offer some things that I haven't seen in very many learning management softwares. And we'll talk about that here in a second. They're also rolling out an improved version of their Course Manager feature, which enables clients to onboard various instructors who can then separately manage their assigned students. Reporting and analytics can be broken out separately as well. And their clients range from individuals to small and medium-sized businesses, and they work closely with their customers to ensure that support is top notch, which is important, right? Above all else, they place a premium on the human side of the business experience. And they also do customization work for their clients on an ad hoc basis. So, Yash and Brenden, thanks so much for being on the Online Course Coach podcast today.
No problem, Jeff. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, Jeff.
Yeah, so let's start with Yash first. Tell me a little bit about your background, where you came from, and even how you developed that love or interest with online courses.
Yeah, sure. So I've always loved teaching, in general. And my background is actually in technology for investment banks. When I graduated from college, this was a while ago, I started working with banks, and we would build software. But then I always had a passion for teaching and learning, and I realized that I was really thriving at talking to our customers and helping them learn how to use the systems. So even though I was more of a builder, but I loved being a teacher. So then I started. This was back in early mid 2004 2005, and then I started thinking about building something that could help people learn and teach. So do both. And at that time, obviously, there were not a lot of platforms that were mature enough to let people go online. It was a very, very early phase. Even today, we're still kind of like early, I think. But and I always had an itch to create something of my own and kind of like get into the business. So education and technology and a love for business kind of got me to get into Academy of Mind. So Academy of Mind basically started back in about 5 years ago now. So, but that was the background basically of what it took me to create something that could help others and and also do it as a business at the same time.
Sure. Now, as far as teaching, did you have kind of a background or interest with different types of teaching?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, in the beginning, obviously, it was mostly local teaching, face to face. But with the power of internet, I realized that there's probably a need for someone to make it easy for people to learn online. So you don't really have to sit in front of a classroom or go somewhere physically. So obviously, there were services like tutor.com at the time where you could register, create an account, but then it was still pretty manual that you still meet them in person. So I was, thinking about maybe there's a platform out there that can let people just come online, create some content. It could be an online course. It could be a simple lesson in different formats like video or audio or PDF. Things like that, and then kind of like help people get access to it from anywhere in the world and not worry about, going to a physical classroom. So, and so that was kind of the idea behind it. And of course, there were some platforms out there that were doing that, but we wanted to create something like, which was an all-in-one platform. So the idea was, okay, there are people who are selling courses, but then we also need people to market it, to make sure that, people are actually finding them. So the idea behind Academy of Mind was that, okay, let's think about an all-in-one platform. And that's how it actually got started. So online teaching is something that I have a lot of interest in. And, I also teach people outside Academy of Mind in general. Like, I talk to people online. I love mentoring as well, in technology or even just in general, like career related stuff. With my experience and some of my classmates from school, they still call me for advice. So I just love, teaching / coaching in many ways. And now I love to do it online.
I love it. I love it. Now, both of you have worked obviously a lot with online course creators and people that either they have an idea, they have an expertise, maybe they have an audience that is, asking for training. What are some of the struggles that you feel like you've seen course creators have? Is it in the idea phase? Is it the marketing phase? Like, what are some of the bigger struggles that you come across with not just students on your platform, but students in general?
That's a great question, Jeff. So I think it depends on what stage the potential clients are in, so or course creators are in. So for example, we talk to a lot of people who are still thinking about going online, who are still thinking about, so sort of like the idea phase they're in. And what they really struggle with is how do we come up with a set of things to start with? Or like, in software, we call it minimal viable product.
Hmm.
So a lot of people have a lot of ideas, but when they're in the idea phase, they kind of struggle uh, with, how do I create a bare minimum content which is effective and start with, so either they fall into that, sort of issue of where they have to now they think that, okay, let's create everything at the same time. So they want to build like, big bang approach, and sometimes they struggle with that. So my advice to them is that, hey, why don't you start small, with the ability to scale, yes, but in the beginning, create one good thing, one good course, maybe even one good video or a lesson, and see how it works. So people struggle with that. They think it's too less or too much. So, so they struggle with that when they're in the idea phase. Now, there are clients we talk to who are already doing something, they have created something. They struggle with the marketing type, phase where they're like, okay, I have all this great content, I'm a great teacher, I put all this thing together. How do I actually get it out to people? And so they start looking into general channels. Like, there are all these marketing tools out there. There are these companies that are, that are digital marketing firms. So people talk to them. They start looking into search engine optimization. I mean, they struggle with focus basically on
Hmm.
what they should, what channel for marketing they should focus on. And they try to go all over the place with, because they don't have the experience, in something like this yet. So
Yeah.
I think those are some of the challenges we see a lot with clients. And sometimes they spend too much money doing that already before they come to us. Sometimes they are just still kind of like talking to people. So,
Sure.
but
Sure.
those are some of the struggles, I would say.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was just talking to somebody just the other day, or 2 weeks ago, I guess it was, from right now, and they were saying how their idea for a course contained, I think it was over 40 hours of content, and I just kind of looked at them like, you're not a university, no offense, but nobody's going to watch 40 plus hours of content. And so we talked about, okay, you talked about, minimum viable product with software. The same thing is with a course, right? What's the most important content? Um, yeah, so 43 hours, probably not a good idea. I mean, I'm sure maybe in some industries that's mandatory. I know one of our clients is in the medical training field, and one of their primary courses or flagship courses is 53 lessons, and it's a multi-day course, but it has to be with certifications and CE credits and all that stuff. So there are times, unfortunately, where a long course is mandatory, but generally, I'm sure you guys don't recommend that, and neither do I. It's kind of like, what's the shortest course possible?
Right. And just to add to that, actually, now you made me think because we have a lot of clients like that too, who have a long video that was like, say, maybe 2 hours long.
Hmm.
And, they just are not sure if they should split the content into multiple shorter videos, maybe, or, in some other ways. So, because they are used to teaching in person, right? Especially you mentioned, like medical training. Those are industries that are still kind of like old school.
Yeah.
Their materials, their content is really old school in many ways. They have these huge PowerPoint presentations, like these huge videos that they have recorded. And yes, they do struggle with that because when they look at an online platform for courses, their struggle is that, okay, these platforms are designed to have smaller chunks of content or lessons, as part of a course. Instead of one big 2 hour video, maybe split that into 15-minute videos. Because students attention span, nobody wants to sit through a 2 hour video. So yes, that's a constant thing that we notice as well, and we try to work with our clients actually as part of strategy of, okay, what can be done, because you've already spent so much time creating all this. So in fact, our team sometimes helps them split that content and create other things,
Hmm.
like smaller chunks of content from the bigger, the huge beast that they
Yeah.
have.
I was just talking with a friend and course creator yesterday, and they have a very large a platform influence and email list, all that good stuff. And he was kind of going through the course he's about to launch and offer to his audience, and it was a high price ticket item, and he's kind of going through step by step, and I was really impressed with it. And then he told me how short all of his videos are. I think there's 10 lessons, and each video is like 5 to 8 minutes. And I love that because a lot of people will actually pay more money for content that's short, concise, and to the point. I think there's value there. Now, obviously, the key is to jam pack that content with value. But so yeah, I like where he was going because he didn't feel the pressure of, man, if my course is going to be, $1,000 or whatever, that, it has to be, 50 hours of content or whatever. It was short and to the point. So let me ask you this, and whether it's Brenden or Yash, what are some marketing strategies that you've seen that have worked well for course creators? Again, whether it's in your platform or just course creators in general.
Yeah. So one of the strategies that really works well is the ability to engage, their potential audience even before the content is created. So even before a course is, up and running, people, some of our clients start validating, their idea behind that course. So, and this is good for people who are in the idea phase. So what they do is they basically start collecting maybe, a name or an email. They put up a nice opt-in form or a lead capture, and then they basically, give them like a freebie. Hey, this, if you're interested in a course like this, whatever the course is, whichever industry or domain, here's a free sample. Maybe download it, get a free PDF if you sign up with us, again, for free for now. And then we'll send you more information. There's so it's kind of like you build an audience in advance instead of saying, hey, here's a $500 course, pay for it and get access to it,
Yeah.
So so that kind of strategy definitely works, and people use that a lot. So they build an audience even before something is actually created. Now we have some clients who have a different marketing strategy because they are some of those traditional types of clients, like you mentioned, medical training. We have a lot of continuing education clients, like CME, CLE type of clients, this other day I was talking to a client who is in real estate continuing education, IRS continuing education. That space is really huge. So those types of clients have more traditional marketing strategies. They have their own connection with their audience. They send flyers out. I have one client who still sends a PDF flyer.
Wow.
He's in safety training, so his audience are very non-techy. So they love the old school ways of marketing. They're not into, say, Facebook ads or Twitter ads, even though we do have that segment of population as well. But for these traditional marketing strategies, they still work with some of those clients. And then, of course, we have the social media channels these days. I mean, one of our clients is really active on Instagram, for example, because she does she does visual things. She teaches a lot of visual stuff. So Instagram is very useful for that. She posts pictures of those, what she's doing. And then of course there's Pinterest, which is kind of like that. You can also do visual sharing. So there are different marketing strategies that our clients are using. And what we do, we give them a lot of tools to make it easy for them. And that's actually one of our value proposition, that we're not just an LMS in that regard. We actually help them market. We don't do their marketing for them, of course, but we give them a lot of strategies, a lot of ways to do all this. And that's kind of that's really works well for our clients.
I love that. I love that. And it's interesting. I was just at Social Media Marketing World recently, and one of the keynotes, the main keynote by Michael Stelzner, was, he called it something like the Facebook apocalypse. Because Facebook pages are dramatically decreasing reach, by Facebook and some other things. And he was just saying it's so important to not stray away from the personal connection. Even if you can't scale it, even if it's harder to do. And so I've seen courses that, mail out, brownies to all their users, or the instructor records a short video and sends it, a personalized video like, hey, Bob, thanks for joining my course. I'm really excited. Here's, blank, blank, blank. And he kind of just gives a short welcome video and gives them some information. So, while it's easy to think of these scalable marketing strategies, sometimes the most effective ones are the personal, one-to-one or the personal touch strategies. So I love that your platform offers, that ability to do different marketing and do different types of touch points.
Sorry, just to add to that, like say we actually focus a lot on tools such as, who your competitors are also,
Mm,
you can do some keyword research, what people are actually Googling, for example. I think
wow.
Googling is a verb, right?
It is now.
So certainly, yeah. So so we actually help them. So some of those, typical like say how to optimize for search engine and things like that. How to write effective blogging or blog posts because that's something a lot of our clients are very lazy about.
Mm,
They don't really focus on that because it requires effort. But one good blog post, even let's say every 1 month or every 5 or 6 weeks, can be really effective in driving good traffic. Because for us, it's really about inbound marketing. That's what we
yeah.
focus on, and we try to teach our clients that
Mm,
hey, outbound is great. Of course, you can do ads, you can send flyers out, and those are very useful, no doubt. But then inbound is something that you should definitely focus on as well because there's a lot of low-hanging fruits that can actually, that can you can get access to. Like, so we teach them that. And again, depending on the industry, it can be really effective for some of our clients. If their industry is very niche, very sort of, it's probably not as big in terms of audience, but there's not a lot of competition either.
oh
So
yeah.
it depends
Yeah.
on those niches as well. Yeah.
And I love that because I have a lot of clients that are like manufacturing companies and larger national or international companies, and sometimes uh, those types of industries, while they do really well with robotics and they have their own technology, they're not very technological from a like an internet or training or that type of standpoint. And so sometimes I've told my audience before, some of those audiences or um, some of those industries are ripe for innovation and technology and courses and all that stuff. And so I love that you guys are doing that. And with that, I love that you said you're doing that type of marketing because I've seen that both in my own company as well as some of my clients where we help them with that strategy. And so they're, creating content and it's the snowball effect, that you create a piece of content and it's up there forever and it's on your own uh, area, your own platform, your own site, your own, wherever, whether it's, yours or wherever. And that can always be, like you said, Googleable. I think I just made that word up. But anyway, so that's pretty cool. So, we kind of talked about Academy of Mine a little bit, but let's get into the nitty gritty. Tell me about the software for course creators and why you created it.
Yeah, sure. So Academy of Mind, the idea behind it is that it's an all-in-one sort of learning management platform. So you have these traditional LMSs that are out there, like, and there are hundreds of them
Sure,
that
yeah.
are where you can create a course, have students enroll, and all those things. But then, the idea behind Academy of Mind was that anyone can start an online academy, really. And that's our tagline, start your own online academy, which includes things like you need to build a website, for example. So you have a website builder in there, a nice page building capability, set up landing pages, and then you have the LMS piece, which of course, allows you to create courses of different types in many formats. One of the things that we focus a lot on is also is clients who are old school. So for example, they have PowerPoint presentations that they need to convert into an online course. They have a SCORM course that they have created using, say, Adobe Captivate or Storyline. So a little bit more complex content than just plain videos or audio or PDF or text. So we actually focus on all those different types of content, as part of the learning management platform. And then, we're designed primarily for any type of audience, but mostly our clients are like smaller to mid-sized businesses. And
Hmm.
I'll get into that a little bit. But to finish what the Academy ML platform offers, after the learning management piece, then we have the marketing piece, which we just briefly talked about. So we have a lot of tools that clients can get access to, including running analytics, searching their competitors, doing keyword search on, for example, we actually teach our clients strategies on what keywords to optimize for
Hmm.
in your industry if people are searching online. And we do the same thing with us, like with our own product, kind of like dog fooding. It's like, for
Yeah.
example, if you type sell courses online, we have a strategy, like we have a blog post that comes up, like, and I guess it's a top 5 post in Google.
Hmm.
We have So things like that we also teach our clients. So that's part of our offering as well. So it's really the all-in-one, feature, and then there's a live component as well. If people want to teach live classes, we have some tools that people can integrate with. So we're like sort of not just a simple LMS. We're an all-in-one, fully integrated platform. So you don't need another service if you want to run an online course platform. Essentially, that's our value proposition in terms of the benefits.
I love that. And I just want to talk to the audience here a second because, like you just said, Yash, there are hundreds of learning management systems, hundreds of ways to get your course online. In fact, a year or two ago, I was going to make a list of like, for the audience here, hey, here's, the best learning management systems. And honestly, there was too many. I couldn't research them all. I couldn't rank them all. Since then I've kind of, figured out, platforms like yours and some of the others that rise to the top. But I love that you're figuring out what you're good at, what you're better at, and what you're, different in a good way. Because so many times course creators get overwhelmed. They think, there's, one other course or 100 other courses in my same industry. And that's
Right.
okay, right?
That's okay. In fact, yeah, in fact, I will even add that if you go to our FAQ page, we even have a sentence or a statement there that kind of like really is interesting for a lot of people when they read it. It says, "We're not for everyone."
Hmm.
Now, what that says is that if you are someone who's just looking to create a simple one, maybe one or two video course, quickly put it up somewhere, you don't really care about your branding necessarily at this point, you're too early on, and you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time working with a platform where you need to put all those pieces together, it's okay that you go with something like, a Udemy or one of those platforms that are kind of like out there for people where you are part of their ecosystem. You're not
Yeah.
part of, you don't have your own brand necessarily. And that's okay when you're too early on in some cases. So we're not shy from telling clients that, hey, maybe we're not a good fit. And that actually really works because when we get the clients that are a good fit for us, and I will get into that, they love it because this is exactly what they're looking for,
Yeah.
in that sense. And that actually matters because when you're running a platform like this, there's a lot of good competition. There's a lot of good, products out there. We don't claim to be the best at what, in terms of everything, but we know why people choose us because of these benefits that I mentioned. And then there's the fact that, we actually love to work with our clients very closely, very personalized approach. Our team is not as big as some of the other companies, which actually works well because we can get on the phone whenever clients want, and
Yeah.
that's something that a lot of other providers don't have. You know.
So, are there specific industries that you either do or don't primarily work with? I mean, I'm sure you can work with pretty much anything, but do you lean one way or lean the other with anything?
Well, that's a great question. So one of the things that, our data or analysis kind of like over the last few years working with different types of clients, what we have realized or learned is that our best clients are usually like smaller to mid-sized businesses. And again, we don't differentiate which domain or industry necessarily. We
Sure.
have all types of clients. Like I said, we have clients in continuing education industry, like the traditional ones, and then we have clients who are also doing we were just talking to a client who has a restaurant. They teach, uh, restaurant related training. And then we have, people teaching how to do marketing, how to do programming. So we have different types of clients, but they all have a few things in common. One is that they have already done a little bit of work, so they have some idea of what they're looking to do. They're not too early on because sometimes what happens is when they're too early on, our platform can be a little complex for them.
Mm.
And again, we're happy to say that because we want to make sure that our clients are understanding what they're actually, signing up for, in the sense that it'll require them to put some work. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks of work to get everything up and running. We're not a turnkey solution because it's a platform.
Mm.
So ideally, our clients are smaller to mid-sized businesses of different types and sizes, and we also have some big businesses as well. But and all of them have done a little bit of work already. Maybe they have created something that they want to now put online. They may have an existing system that they're trying to change from because they have some issues they're facing, or they're looking for an all-in-one. because one of the things that works well for us, and clients love it, are those clients who had like 5 different systems. They're
Mm.
doing marketing in one system, they have a registration capture in one system. I mean, I was actually surprised in the beginning that people do that. So we had one client who had like 4 different websites.
Wow.
And so things like that. So that's where we come in, and we can actually work with our clients to analyze and advise them, and then bring them on board. So
Yeah.
so with us, I would say, that's like the smaller to mid-sized businesses of different types, who are looking to kind of like take the next step,
Yeah.
are best fits.
Now, I love working with businesses because, like we just talked about, they're kind of ripe for innovation, they're ripe for technology. So when you talk to a company and maybe they're not doing any e-learning, any courses, anything, what's kind of that sales pitch, or how do you turn the light on for them so that you can show how putting all this into a course or a program, streamlining it, systematizing it, can actually save them a lot of time and money? Do you have a process, or a different, not a spiel, but something that you work through with the potential customer to see how they can benefit from courses and e-learning?
Yeah, Brendan, do you want to take this one? I think.
Sure, sure. So, what I would say to that is typically we'll have potential clients that will come to us. For example, we can put this in the context of corporate training, and they could have a set process in place that they're currently running with. And kind of to Yash's earlier points, they may have a lot of different systems in place or use different pieces for different parts of the puzzle. And what happens is oftentimes it can be difficult to track all that information and kind of integrate it fully into the broader picture. Or perhaps they're just looking for an easier way to go about doing things and have everything in one central hub.
Mm.
And so that's oftentimes when they come to us and they say, hey, we need a streamlined approach to our current process. Do you have a method in which we can improve upon it? And oftentimes we are a good answer to that, and we can provide a very good solution to them. Oftentimes, what I think oftentimes is important to think about from a customer standpoint is not just your present pain points, but also your future pain points as well. So think about it across multiple time frames, just like you're thinking about your business, your current business situation, and then how you envision your business being in the future. And so currently you may have some pain points that pop up, and then you also have to think about, your future pain points. And oftentimes what I've seen, and this is getting a little off point, but I still bear with me here. Oftentimes in the future, you'll have, customer support related issues, and may arise with your online business. And so that's something that I think why Academy of Mind, where we particularly excel, is the ability to work closely with our clients, because that's a recurring issue among people that are creating online courses is, hey, I'm having an issue with this, or I'm having an issue with that, or I need an additional customization request on this, or, so issues that you can't necessarily forecast from the beginning, but that inevitably will pop up. And I think where we're well equipped is we have the ability to handle those issues as they arise. And like to Yash's point, we work very closely with our clients. We care about our clients. There's the human element that's part of it. And I think it's critical not only in online businesses and creating an online course, but obviously in life in general, is the human element and taking a personalized approach to things. But no, getting back to your original question, I do think that, we don't have, so to be completely frank, we don't have a set spiel in place. What we typically will do is we'll try to be responsive to our potential clients' needs, and we'll listen to them. So listening and hearing what their struggles are, and then responding accordingly. And part of our all-in-one platform, what that allows for us is we can take different pieces from within our platform and say, hey, you should use this tool, you should use that, or explain and basically come up with a solution for them. And whether or not they choose to use that solution is ultimately up to them and to their organization. But we try to be as responsive and helpful as possible throughout the process.
I love that. And yeah, spiel is a terrible word. It almost makes people think of like a sales pitch.
No, not a bad word.
Hey, I'm the word. I threw it out there.
I like it. I think it's kind of it's a funny word.
But yeah, and I love that you say you listen. And I think that's the key with any type of selling and marketing, is just listening. What are the pain points? What are they trying to accomplish?
Right.
and seeing how you can best serve them. That's the approach I've always taken.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
mean, to
that's
add to that, one more thing I'll quickly say about
mhm,
the sales process is that when clients are, we have most of our sales process is inbound. People actually find us. So we already know that there's some interest. They're looking for something. They have a pain point. So, we pay a lot of attention to make sure when we respond to them initially, or even afterwards, we respond to them based on what they're asking for, not based on what we have to offer
mm,
necessarily, because if we have, so listening again, right? So we will ask them questions based on what they're doing, not necessarily, hey, we are great and here's all these things you can use, because frankly clients don't care what we have, or
sure,
at least early on. What they care about is, can you solve my problem?
yeah,
So, and that's something that a lot of people miss in sales. I mean, and I don't want to go too off track, but sometimes I get these sales emails from other companies, and they have generic copy paste messages, saying, hey, we have all this, blah, blah, blah. But then it doesn't, and the first question I ask is, how does it benefit me? Or for what I'm looking for. So I don't even open those emails afterwards. I never respond to them. So it has to be very tailor made, and it's an effort. It takes time to do that. But
I
I
love
think
that.
that's better. That's better than shooting 100 emails a day and trying to see if something sticks.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, and that just goes to show the importance of knowing who exactly your audience is. We've all gotten those just mass emails, and it's like, I don't really think I'm your audience. And so anyway, that can go with a whole different email marketing conversation there. So tell me, what new exciting features are you planning on adding in the future to Academy of Mind?
So one of the things that we are noticing, one of the trends, and I've mentioned this a couple of times already in this discussion, is the continuing education space, and that's something that's we keep hearing from people. Like every week, we get like maybe 3 or 4 big leads, big mid-sized companies or bigger companies even, looking for a solution that actually helps them with some of the continuing education type requirements. So I'll give you an example. Like for example, they're saying that, okay, all these platforms are offering video. That's great. But then I want to be able to control the video. Maybe I have a requirement from the state, at least, let's say North America in some
Hmm.
state, saying, you can't really skip the entire video
Yeah.
quickly. You at least you have to sit through the first 30 minutes of it. I know it sounds painful for a student, but but
Oh, it's
but
there.
but
It's definitely there.
but
Yeah.
it's the red tape they have to go through. So they
Yep.
need to be able to prove to to whichever like state they're working with, that, hey, I'm actually tracking my students' progress and I'm making sure that they're actually looking at the content. So surprisingly, there's not a lot of platforms that are doing all that very well. So there are all these generic platforms out there, but then they're not focusing specifically on those things. So some of those features are in pipeline for us, which is exciting because that's something that we're seeing a lot. This other day we had a client who wanted to sort of set up an interactive video saying, okay, while you're watching and video pauses after 20, after the first 10 minutes, pop up a quiz right in the video. Features like that is something that people are really interested in. More interactive
Mm,
features within courses instead of just a boring, page where a student is reading and clicking, okay, I'm done. I
yeah.
mean, of course, a lot of people start with that, but we're focusing on interaction between student and the content, and I think that's something that's really interesting. Some of the other stuff we're working on is the ability to run live classes. That's something that people are really, really asking for.
Mm,
I mean, yes, there are tools out there, no doubt. It's not like it's a revolutionary thing, but I think most of these tools are again very generic. They're like meeting tools, like say, GoToMeeting or Hangouts. But then there's not a lot of tools that are designed for one-to-one learning, like smaller
mm,
class sizes. Maybe there's a couple of them that we've looked at. So we're actually thinking of building our own in-house, and it's going
mm.
to be a really interesting project. Yeah. And a lot of our clients are already on board and interested in seeing that. And the third thing that we're actually working on, which is again a lot of interest, I mean, has generated a lot of interest, is the ability to set up a platform with a brand and onboard other companies.
Mm,
So let me explain that. So what happens is we have some clients. Let's say we have a client who's in the restaurant industry I was talking about earlier. They want to train people from other restaurants, so they're actually cutting deals with these other, companies or restaurants or even schools or different types of organizations saying, we will train your guys or your team because we have a brand already. This is what we do. Why don't you come to our platform? And they want to segregate each company with their own sort of a access, like a premium page, access to their content, and have a representative from their company, from each company, come in, log into the platform, and only see what they need to see for their company. But in the back, there's like maybe 50 companies that are using the same platform. So our client is branding a platform and getting their own clients on it. So they're not selling directly to students, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I love that idea. I love that flexibility and the ability to do that, because a lot of learning management systems that would explode the system, that would break the system.
So for example, you have one course that, let's say, you create one course, but the problem with most LMSs today is that within one course, all the data is pretty much all together. So like if a course has 100 students in it, all the 100 students are there together. Well, I'm sure there are some exceptions, but generally that's how LMSs are designed. So what happens is, these clients are saying, no, I don't want to see all the 100 students together. I want to be able to see groups of students only for that company and manage their tracking, their reporting, their progress, which doesn't conflict with the others, even though it's only still one course. So I only put the content once. I don't have to necessarily create a course for each company, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and we're calling it a course manager feature. It's actually, we're working very hard on it because we have, like, I would say, at least 7 or 8 clients off the top of my head that I can think of right now that are waiting for it. So that's something that's also we're working on. One of the exciting things.
Well, very cool. Well, Yash and Brenden, I really appreciate you guys being on the show here today. And like we talked about before the recording, to the audience, Yash and Brenden have been very generous to offer a 10% coupon code. So for anybody that goes to academyofmind.com and goes through, picks their package, picks all that good stuff, you can just simply enter the coupon code. You can simply enter the coupon code of Course Coach and get 10% off. So anything as we wrap up here, either you guys want to say about online courses in general or your website at academyofmind.com?
Yeah, I mean, we'll just add that we would love to talk to anybody who's interested in setting up an online academy of some sort where it's not just about an LMS or just a simple course, but something that's a bit more complex to set up, and they require help with that. We work with a lot of clients who are not tech savvy at all. You don't need to know how to write code or build websites. We can even offer like services where we take care of everything for you. So we're very interested in talking to clients who need a bit more help than the usual. So don't be afraid to reach out to us, even if you just want to ask about strategies. Even if you're not ready to start today, we're happy to talk to you and give you ideas on what you could do potentially, even if that takes 3 to 6 months for you to start. So we're not just looking for business from day one. We would love to talk to anybody who needs any advice in the online course space, because we love doing this. So
yeah, that's so kind and generous of you guys. Just talking ahead of the recording, I can tell you guys are in this for the long run. You're passionate about the industry and you really want to help people. So I appreciate that. And thank you both for being on the Online Course Coach podcast today.
Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jeff. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, that was the interview with Yash and Brenden of Academy of Mind. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun talking with them. With all these interviews I do, we get to talk before the interview, during the interview, and after the interview. And it's just a lot of fun. I love talking with these industry experts. I love picking their brains and seeing how, because they work with a lot of course creators as well, it's fun to see what's working for their customers, I guess you could call them, or their trainers. And a lot of that I get to pass on to my coaching students. So if you need coaching, I don't talk about this a lot, but hey, go to onlinecoursecoach.com, and up in the menu there is a coaching tab. You can fill out the information and see if it's a good fit. and we can talk more about how I can help you take your idea or help you get to that next step in the process. Some people are overwhelmed with the whole thing and they want help from, the start. Some people, maybe their course is already built and I can help them create a marketing strategy, an effective marketing strategy to help them sell more courses. So there's a lot we can do to help you get to where you need to go. But I had a lot of fun talking with Yash and Brenden, and I can tell that these guys are in it for the long run, that they want to really help course creators. So if you're looking for a learning management system, definitely check out Academy of Mine, and that might be a good resource for you. Well, that is all for today's show. Like I say in a lot of these shows, don't just listen to these episodes, turn them off, and forget it. Implement some of these things. If you learned a tip or a resource, put it into your notes. I use Evernote, and so I'm always writing down notes. I'm always writing down ideas. I also have a to-do list. I use Wunderlist, and so a lot of times I have a list just for, a course or even for these podcast ideas. When I'm listening to the podcasts, I'll put it in my to-do list and then I'll implement it. So please, please, please don't just listen to these shows. Implement them into your courses, or at the very least, put them into, an idea board or somewhere where you can capture these when you're building your course, when you're marketing your course, building your audience, wherever you are in the process. I want you to implement these ideas. Well, hey, keep coming back to these shows. You can listen to past episodes at onlinecoursecoach.com, and let me know how I can help you. If you need coaching, or if you just want to write in and tell me something where you are in your journey with your course, I'd love to hear about where you are. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button in your podcast listener, whether it's iTunes, whether it's on your phone, somewhere else. Subscribe to this podcast so you can get alerted when all the new episodes come in. All right, thanks for listening to the Online Course Coach podcast, where it is my goal to help you to teach many that will impact millions.